Hi, everyone. I'm Blair Kaneshiro. I'm one of the general chairs of ISMIR 2024, and I'm here today with Oriol Nieto, one of the other general chairs of the conference. And we are both really excited to be talking today with Justin Hampton, who designed the logo of the ISMIR conference. So thank you so much, Justin, for being here with us and talking with us today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah. So just to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you are now, and where you're from?
Okay. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I was basically kind of a West Coast kid. I mean, I was born in Santa Cruz, California. My mom moved us up to Southern Oregon when I was a little tyke. And after I graduated high school, I moved up to Seattle, and I was there for 20 years before moving to Portland. So that's basically up and down the coast.
Oh, that's great. Very aligned with the theme of our ISMIR conference this
Definitely,
year, actually. Yeah.
for sure.
And can you tell us a little bit about your creative influences on your art?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it's an amalgam of a lot of different things, a lot of which is what came out of the 60s in San Francisco with the original psychedelic art. So there was that, just a lot of pop culture stuff, comic book art, album art, skateboard art. Those were all kind of a big goulash of influences that went into what became me.
So your brand as an illustrator is so linked to music, right? I'm wondering how this actually came to be, and if you're a fan of the music that you actually design for, and whether that's important or not.
It's a good question. It is actually. I've done the majority of my choices of working with bands have been for bands that I actually really like. I will disclaim that not every single one has been. Some have been just gigs. I won't mention names, but uh, the majority of the ones that I've done stuff for have been very uh, selectively curated to be stuff that I like because it's easier for me to get into working for them if I like the work the band themselves. So, and the really fun thing about that is when I have interactions with the collectors of my work, they feel like I understand them because they have the same tastes. So that kind of makes for a kind of a cool bond with the people that collect my work.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of some of the bands you've worked with.
Oh, right on. Cool.
So
Nice.
can you tell us a little bit more about the non-music work that you do?
Sure. Well, I mean, I've from the very beginning when I started, I was an illustrator. So I've done stuff for magazines over the years. I've done private commissions. I've done logos for various companies, including yours. But mostly rock oriented has been my thing. I've done some other stuff. I've done some fantasy art, but it's mostly been around music, honestly.
Nice.
Well, you may remember that we approached you recently about designing a logo for the ISMIR 2024 conference, and I actually can bring it up while we're talking. Yeah, and I was wondering if you could kind of just like walk us through the logo and like kind of what's going on in the different places.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this being in San Francisco, there's no getting away from the San Francisco 60s vibe when it comes to that city and typography, especially. This one's very heavily influenced by the 60s masters who were like, Stanley Mouse, Wes Wilson, Victor Moscoso, who were just absolute geniuses when it came to typography. So this was very heavily influenced by them and their work. And the idea behind it was to have the word Izmir basically be a graphic representation of the Golden Gate Bridge. And then the disc in the middle, which is a record, um, symbolizes the sun, the California sun for the Golden State. and the typography of the dates, I wanted to appear like they were spinning around the record, which was the sun, and then that there would be music coming off of the music notes coming off of the logo that were kind of representation of like almost like seagulls going over the bridge. So it's got a lot going on as far as what I was trying to convey for the California San Francisco vibe, and a nod to the '60s greats that established that visual look. So it was really fun. I had a really good time coming up with the idea and coming up with how I would implement that idea to represent that.
Yeah, and I think one thing that was surprising to me at least was to see the color scheme come in at the end, because we had been looking at it in black and white through
Right.
the previous iterations of the design. Did you always know that it would kind of have this sun, like sunset into ocean color scheme?
Yeah. In my head, it wasn't exactly dialed in my brain yet, but I had a very distinct feeling that I wanted to do. Uh, a lot of the '60s posters were done with complementary colors, which are just the most eye-catching color scheme that you can come up with, honestly. So the orange, obviously for Golden Gate Bridge, blue for water, which is under the bridge with San Francisco, but they're so kind of vibraty to your eye, which is the entire point of the '60s posters. Uh, so yeah, so it was fun to watch it unfold because I had a loose idea in my brain how it would work, but you don't fully know until it starts unfolding, and then you're kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, that looks good. If I add this, it'll look better, So it was fun to watch it unfold.
Fun for us as well.
Cool, awesome.
Also, it is so it works so well with the theme of the conference, because we are trying to have like this special theme on bridging the worlds of AI and creative practices in the music domain.
Right.
So I'm actually wondering, like, what type of technologies you usually use? Do you use any sort of this crazy AI that it's now around us? And I'm wondering how this workflow has evolved over the years.
Right. No, I mean, everything that I've done since the very beginning have been very analog, very hand drawn, hand inked. Um, and then I so in my posters, everything was done that way, shot to film. And then originally, I would do overlays of film that you would cut the colors out in Rubylith and pull off the film that you didn't want and keep the layer of film that you did, and that became the color. Around 2000, I segued into moving on from that and getting more technologically with the times, and so I started doing stuff in Photoshop, and that's what I do the majority of my work in. I know a lot of artists, illustrators use Illustrator because it's vector based, but I use mostly pixel based Photoshop, because everything that when I finish all my color separations in Photoshop, they're generally just transferred to a PDF that's an output to film that's pixel based anyway. Um, so that's how this was done too. But in this case, the difference of how I used to do it to how I do it now is I did the sketch by hand, I did it in pencil, and then once I was really happy with the design, I took it into Photoshop and then did all my layers and all my nuancing and color choices and polishing it in Photoshop. So, but no, I haven't used AI at all. In fact, I'm not a big fan of AI. Honestly. It's like anything, it's a tool. If it's something that can enhance your work and uh, give you new ideas, I think that's great. For art, it's really tough to get behind for me because uh, with the latest AI tool that's been using art, they have basically sampled 16,000 different illustrators, including myself, and then they're making it available so people can do art with all of those influences. And I think we've got a ways to go to where um, if that's in there, there should be compensation for that. If I'm being plugged in as a name or any other artist as a name, there should be some form of compensation to the artists. I just that's my biggest sticking point. And then there's so many people also that are saying they're artists now by putting in some prompts, and that's not what it is. You're a key code guy. That's really all you are. You know what I mean? If you're not putting your own skills behind it, you know what I mean? I get the usage of it as a tool for artists to use, or even conceptual ideas. You know, it's also brand new. You know what I mean? That it's hard to say where it's going to go. But as an old school artist, it's a tough one for me.
And I'm curious to know if there's anything that you can do, like when you realize, hey, my work has been used for training all of these models without my consent.
Right.
Is there anything that I know that the New York Times has put like this crazy lawsuit against OpenAI, but I'm wondering if like individual artists are doing anything regarding this.
Well, I know that there's a class action lawsuit. I don't know if it's just that one or if there's more, but it seems like there should be compensation. You know what I mean? I feel that way about streaming music stuff too. I think the artists should be compensated much better than they are. I think they're, it boggles my mind that no one has come forward with a class action lawsuit of all of the musicians that are just getting pennies on the dollar for streaming, and the streaming companies are making so much money. You know, I think the artists, you know, you have to stand up for yourself. You have to make a stand. You know what I mean? Or you're just going to be bowled over by it. And it's also brand new. I mean, even the streaming thing is brand new. You know, in the course of music history. You know what I mean? So it's going to take a while. Hopefully, you know, things even out to where there's some compensation and fairness practices that go with it. You know, but like anything, it's going to take, you know, throwing money at it, getting people behind it, and trying to change things. But it's all in its early stages, so it's very fresh. Let's just say.
Yeah, I totally hear you. I'm also I'm optimistic, but yeah, we have to be careful.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I am too in the big picture. Like, I think it's a powerful tool. I mean, I would like to use it to just see what it could do to come up with conceptual ideas. You know what I mean? But in the end, I would still want to illustrate whatever I decided to go with. You know what I mean? I wouldn't just go, okay, that's great, and go do my style for me. You know, that would be sad.
Well, speaking of your skills and your style, we know that you have a book coming out, and we'd love to hear a little bit about it.
Very true. Cool. Yeah, my book is called Visual Feast, and it's coming out this summer. I did a Kickstarter for it 2 years ago. It's been a bit of a process to get it all final and finished, but it's now finally happening, and I'm very excited. Speaking of San Francisco, you're showing the image. The cover image with the Alice in Wonderland theme was originally for a band called Ween, for a show that they had in San Francisco. And I went with the Alice in Wonderland theme because that was such a predominant visual at that time, especially with Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit. And so that was a fun little nod back then in 2009. And then when I decided to do my book, my retrospective book, I removed the band's name and replaced the where it was with my daughter's face as Alice. So she posed for that, and that's exactly how she looks. And minus the menacing lighting and all. So she's very excited to be on the cover. And it's a 30-year retrospective of my work in rock and roll, and creating images for bands. And it's got everything I've ever done in the book. It's a 444-page book that also goes into some of the behind the scenes stories about working with bands, photos, sketches, progressions to the final concept, that kind of thing. So it's a very intensive, almost autobiography or biography book, as well as a retrospective art book. So I'm super excited.
Wow, Yeah, that's quite a lot of work to fill 30 years, like
Yeah,
to go into this.
it took about 4 years to put it together. It was a huge undertaking. It's a massive book.
When
And
when is it
literally, it's
when is it coming out?
this June.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I can't wait to have book signings and start, yeah, getting in people's hands. Can't wait.
So actually, by the time of ISMIR 2024, this will be available. So
Perfect.
for the people, yeah, who are watching this during ISMIR, hey, go and check it out.
Very perfect. Love it.
And I understand your daughter is also an artist, is that right?
She is. Yeah. Yeah, she's really quite talented. Yeah,
Nice.
she's had a couple pieces in some local shows here in town, a pretty well-known gallery in town, Brassworks Gallery. And the curator and owner of the gallery saw her work and was like, "Would you like to have your daughter highlighted in a local show for a local talent section of the show?" And she was very excited. So of course she said yes, and so that was this last December. Yeah, she's really really good, and she's only getting better, and it's very exciting to see. She's only 14, but she's slaying it. It's awesome, awesome to watch.
Oh, wow.
Oh, amazing.
Nice. So I guess what else is in the horizon for you in 2024 or beyond? Like I guess all these book signings, but
Yeah,
beyond
yeah.
that.
I mean that's I'm looking to have a kind of a, I don't know if I'd call it a tour because I'm not getting in a van and driving up and down the coast, but I'm hoping to have some select dates along the West Coast, New York, possibly Chicago, pretty much anywhere where I can find a place that's willing to have me and pick up some books and have an event around it. I'm hoping to have some in Europe as well, but we'll see. It's a big book. The biggest issue is the logistics of getting these, make, because these books are like 11 by 14 inches and about 2 inches thick. And with the slipcase and the book, it's about 10 pounds a book. So,
Wow.
yeah, they're massive. So, shipping is going to be some logistics in that.
Wow. Yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye. I hope that you come to the Bay Area for
For
the
sure.
signing.
I
Yeah,
definitely will. Yes.
I hope I meet you there in person. Yeah.
Cool. Definitely.
Uh, that's so cool too, because I think so many people encounter your work through the artists, like through the musicians for whom you design, but
Right.
this will be like fully centered on you, kind of spanning
Yeah,
across all of the artists. And
that's true. That's true.
yeah.
I hadn't really thought about it that way, but there was actually a show that I was a part of, a big showing in 2002 in Seattle, that was with two of my peers. And we had a design group called Post Neo Explosionism. And we did posters for various bands, tours, including Queens of the Stone Age, Audio Slave, and Built to Spill. And we had a show at that time of all of our posters, and we got various bands to come play for us, which was really, really cool because it was that same idea that you're talking about, that it's always all about the bands, but that moment in particular was really fun because it was about the artists and the bands playing for the artists, which was very very cool. So hopefully with this book coming out, we'll maybe put together some performances by different folks that have done stuff for it too. That would be really fun. We'll see. Everyone's got busy schedules, so it's not always a given that that can happen. And there's got to be a willingness as well, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's such a cool recentering of your work. And I bet you're going to hear a lot of like interesting stories from the people who come to your book signings.
Cool. That's awesome. That's what I love. I love when people come and they say, I met my wife at this show and we got this poster from 15 years ago and it hangs above our fireplace. And I love stories like that. It's amazing. It's weird because, as an artist, you're just in your studio churning out work. You know what I mean? You're not seeing the impact that it's having on a regular basis, or even that often. But when you do, it's always like, oh yeah, my stuff is in the world. Weird. Yeah. Cool. It's affected people. Cool. It's always fun to hear that stuff.
Yeah, I know. I personally like look at your work every day, like because I have it
That's
behind
awesome.
me in my room.
I
But
love those in the background. That's awesome.
all right. Well, I think we've reached the end of our little interview.
Cool.
Thank you so much again, Justin. Like we're just so honored to have like your work kind of being
God,
the visual face of our conference this year.
thank you. I appreciate it. It's a thrill for me. San Francisco is not my hometown. I was born in Santa Cruz, but it's only 70 miles away, so it kind of is almost by proximity. So it's always fun to do something in San Francisco.
Thank you so much, Justin. As Blair said, an honor. Thanks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll post something right after this so that people can see the link to your website in case they want to look more at your work or maybe even order your book.
Awesome. Very cool. I appreciate it, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.